All right, good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order the April 14th Macon County Board of Commission meeting. I don't know if anybody's driven by the high school lately, but it's pretty impressive. There's some massive progress, and that's really exciting to see. We've got some beautiful weather, but we are praying for rain. So real quick to get this meeting started, we have some special guests in here, and I would like to ask Miss Amy Owens to come right on up and maybe introduce you.
Sounds good. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Amy Owens. I'm the Town Manager for the Town of Franklin, and I'm very excited to say that I am part of the Macon County 250th celebration. We are doing some special events related to our nation's 250th birthday. Starting with, we had partnered with the school system and did an essay contest on what does America mean to me. So we had 3 individuals who we want to recognize tonight. The first one is Luke Krebs. So is Luke here? No, Luke's not here. Well, that's okay. We'll make sure he gets his. And then Natalie Orr. No, Natalie? Well, that's okay too. And then our first place winner is Madison Klaus. Come on up, Madison. So Madison's going to get this plaque that's first place in What Does America Mean to Me contest. And we actually have your essay here, and we'd like for you to read it if you'd like to. Just read it into the microphone. That'll be fine.
250 years of America means a long story of people trying to build a better place. It reminds me that America did not start perfect, but it has changed a lot over time. When America first began, people wanted freedom and a chance to make their own choices. Even though not everyone was treated fairly at first, many people kept fighting to make things better. Over 250 years, America has faced many hard times like wars, protests, and disagreements, but each time people stood up and worked together to improve the country. Slavery was ended, women earned the right to vote, and laws were made to protect people's rights. These changes show that America learns from its mistakes and keeps moving forward. To me, 250 years of America means growth. It means learning how to treat others with respect and standing up for others for what is right. It also means having the freedom to speak and go to school and dream about the future. Many people came to America hoping for a better life, and their hard work helped build the country we live in today. America's 250 years is not just about the past, but about the future too. It reminds me that my generation has a role to play. We can help make America kinder, fairer, and stronger by learning from history and making good choices. That is what 250 years of America means to me. I love our world if bad things happen or good things happen.
Miss Owens, what was her name? What was her name?
Madison Klaus.
Is it Klaus? Okay.
And so you can see why she won the essay contest. She pretty much hit the nail on the head of what it means for America. So the other thing that we partnered with the school system with was to do a logo contest for Macon County specifically. So we've got quite a few individuals to recognize who submitted artwork for that. So I'm going to start with Sadie Hicks. Come on up. Sadie, if you'll hold up your artwork for everybody to see.
Wow.
So we've got certificates for all of the individuals. The first, it says Certificate of Recognition in Appreciation for Your Outstanding Artistic Talent. This certificate is presented to Sadie Hicks for demonstrating remarkable creativity in the celebration of the 250th anniversary of America, presented this 14th day of April 2026, signed by Commissioner Breeden and Commissioner Sherrill on behalf of the Macon 250th Committee.
Wow. Good job, Sadie.
Okay, Dominic Lightner, Victoria Lightner, and Jacob Lightner. You have a very talented family.
Got a talented daddy, probably, do.
All right, so everybody hold them up and show the commissioners.
Let's see what you got.
Wow. Look at that.
Ruby capital.
All right, see, they got the 250 and the
Macon
Eagle
County.
and Macon County. So turn around and show
Very
the
good
audience
job.
now as well. So. And this is the other one. This is Jacob's that he did. And Jacob is in pre-K, y'all. Pre-K.
Let's see what you got.
Wow. Wow.
Like I said, very artistic family. So I'm going to give you all three of these, but they all say the same thing: in appreciation for your outstanding artistic talent. This certificate is presented to Jacob Lightner, Dominic Lightner, and Victoria Lightner for demonstrating remarkable creativity in the celebration of the 250th anniversary of America, presented this 14th day of April 2026 on behalf of the Macon County 250th Committee. Yes, sir.
Hey, Amy, I'd
Oh,
like
no, you
to
keep them. You keep them.
just like to share something really important, really quick. Dominic and actually Victoria, all three of them are karate students, but Dominic next month will be testing for his junior black belt.
Wow. All right, so we have one more presentation to make, and that is to Kenna Keyworth, who actually has the logo that was chosen to represent Macon County's 250th celebration. So if y'all
We'll stop.
Right.
Nice.
and then show the audience. And so this plaque actually has the logo on it, so you can see how nice it looks on the white background. This will be on all of our marketing materials, including flags that we've ordered, T-shirts that'll be available between roughly Memorial Day and the 4th of July, as well as some magnets and stickers that we've ordered, so they're going to be known everywhere. So this says, presented to Kenna Keyworth in recognition for designing the Macon County 250th celebration logo, presented by the Macon County 250th Committee, April 14th, 2026. So, and just a little bit about the two-day celebration that we're going to have, to get people more excited about it. Friday, July the 3rd, we're going to have a lot of activities and athletic events out at Parker Meadows. We're going to have a 5-on-5 wiffle ball tournament, a kickball tournament. It's going to have two different divisions, an open team and then a business and family team, because, you know, business and family teams can get kind of competitive. A float and run event where you're going to get in the creek and float down and then get out and run. And we've got some help from the high school students helping us out with that. 3-on-3 basketball. And then come downtown at 6 o'clock. We're going to have a free concert on the square featuring Jason Passmore and Rock Holler. That's going to be from 6 to 10. Then the next morning, if we're all still able to move, Saturday, July the 4th, on Main Street, we'll have our regular activities that we do from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. Free watermelon, free water as long as it lasts, patriotic pet contest, Little Mr. and Miss Firecracker. And then we'll all converge back to the rec park around 4 o'clock to do fun and fireworks. We're going to have food trucks, face painting, inflatables, tie-dye, and fairy hair. We're going to have some reenactors that are actually going to be there all weekend long. They're going to be camping at the rec park so that people can see what it was like during the Revolutionary War. So he will be there. Live music from 4 o'clock until the fireworks at 10 p.m. And then some historical games, sack races, the stick and hoop, and all sorts of fun stuff. So everybody put it on your calendars. This was a fantastic way for all of us to partner together. Macon County, the town of Franklin, the chamber, the business community. We do have opportunities for sponsorships, and that will help pay for materials that we use, the T-shirts, things of that nature, as well as we're going to do a commemorative banner that gets your name on it for different sponsorship levels, but it's going to be donated to the Macon County Historical Society. So when we celebrate the 300th anniversary of the United States, people can roll that banner back out and say, look who was here 50 years ago. So just thank you so much for the opportunity
Ms.
this
Amy,
evening.
you might want to explain what the levels of.
Okay.
Because I think there's an opportunity for sponsorships with some special stuff that.
Not a problem. Thank you, sir. We have 5 levels of sponsorship. The first one is gold, and it's $1,000, and it is limited to 10 sponsors. You get your logo on the stage side banners at the 4th of July celebration. You'll be mentioned in all of our media releases. The logo on the commemorative banner, as well as 3 reserved parking passes for the day of the fireworks and everything in the park, because we're not going to have general parking in the park, so note that. Silver is $750, and it is also limited to 10. It's sponsor mentioned in all the media releases, the logo on the commemorative banner, and 2 reserved parking spaces. Then we have red, white, and blue. Red is $500, white is $250, blue is $100. It's your name on the commemorative banner in different sizes. The red is the largest, the white is the medium, and the blue is the small. So this is on the county's website, our website at the town. It's on the chamber's website. I know it's been shared by a couple of different media organizations. So if you have any questions, reach out to Town Hall. We're happy to answer any questions. And
What about your parade? Is there a parade
the parade is on the 4th.
on the 4th?
Mm-hmm.
When will it start?
It starts lineup is at 10:30, and then the parade's at 11. It starts at Town Hall, and anybody can participate. There's no
Walking-
sign up, no order
walking,
to it.
riding.
Just walk, ride, jump, skip, whatever you need to do.
Well, Amy, I'd like to say thank you to you as liaison to the town. It's been really cool getting to work with you guys, and 4th of July was by far my favorite thing to get to collab with you guys. So thank you
Wonderful.
guys so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you, and we've enjoyed it, and we've worked well with Seth, and Sabrina is our events coordinator for the town, and she's always done a fantastic job with the 4th of July. So being able to bring this partnership back has been great for us as well.
Thank you, Ms. Owens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to you students for showcasing that wonderful artwork. I'm just so impressed. So thank you, and now we get to move on to the boring part of the meeting. All right. Ms. Tammy, do you have any announcements?
I do not, thank you.
You want
All
to
right.
adjourn, see if anybody needs to move out before we go into
Oh.
the, they're going to move on.
We'll let them go ahead and clear it out. Hey, see you, Justin.
Thank you.
See you, bub. All right, Mr. Cade.
I actually have several, Mr. Chairman. The first thing tonight, I think we need to recognize the passing of Miss Diane Cotton. She was an educator and an administrator with our school system, and actually came before this board many times advocating for funding for various agencies in Macon County. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that and mention that tonight. Second thing, I want to remind the board of the volunteer appreciation reception at the Senior Services Building on April 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. Those volunteers are very essential to our services there, and this is time for us to show them how much we appreciate them. Third thing, this is for the general public. There will be some interruptions on the Greenway, actually started today, will take place over the next week or so. We're actually doing some repaving on some sections of the Greenway. They're working today on the now near the Phillips Bridge, down near the Colossagia Park area, and then they're going to move on down toward the Arthur Drake end down there. So just expect some various delays while we're doing that renovation and construction there on the Greenway. Fourth thing, this is for our contractors. The portal has opened. We're moving toward an electronic process so contractors can access the code enforcement office through the building permits and other permits to make it easier on them. I just want to make folks aware that the portal is now open for contractors to start registering. The system's not fully live yet, but links on our webpage under the planning, permitting, development section, and they can go ahead and start that process. And it's fairly easy. We checked it. It works really well. So that's a good step forward for us for those folks. Fifth thing, I guess this is an announcement. I would like for the board to consider a date for me for an upcoming work session. Typically what happens when we have our budget presentation from me at our May meeting, at the end of that meeting, we recess to a work session date. My recommendation would be for you to think about recessing that May meeting to May the 21st from 9 to 12 for a work session. We don't need to set that tonight, but just be thinking about that. I'd kind of like to pencil that into our calendars. That way the folks that come and talk to us will be kind of planning for that date, and we can be thinking about that. And the last thing is actually good news. If y'all remember, it's probably been a couple months ago, we applied for a DEQ recycle grant through North Carolina. The request was for $2.9 million. We were notified first of the week this week that we actually received $2.75 million for that recycling project. And that recycling project will include complete funding of the Carson Convenience Center. It also includes funding to redo the recovery building, which is where you drop your trash out at the landfill here in Franklin, the recycle building, and also a pretty good equipment list. So that's huge for us to get that amount of money. And that's all I have.
That helps. All right, Commissioner Breeden. Commissioner Antoine. Commissioner Shields.
Rock and roll.
Commissioner Sherrill.
Chairman, I want to announce something, but I can't announce it. Would it be out of line if I got Ms. Burns to announce what's happening at the beginning of the month in Macon County?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Just come on up and address the mic, if you don't mind.
I'm good. On May 2nd, we're having the Sweet Carolina Music Festival. It benefits the Smoky Mountain Pregnancy Care Center. John Morgan will be performing again. He has #1 hits on his own, and he writes a lot of Jason Aldean's music. So it goes to a good cause. Buy your tickets online.
Wonderful. Thank you. Finance. Council? All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Shields to lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
If able, please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shields. I understand we have no public hearings. Any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have two. Under the consent agenda, I think it will be item 12F. We need to add the minutes of the March 10th, 2026 regular meeting. And then I need to add item G under consent, which would be the tax collection report for the month of March 2026 in the amount of $1,173.96. Those documents were in your agenda packet, but they got left off of the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tammy. Any other additions to the agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the public comment period. The first speaker is Mary Ann Ingram.
Hey, Mary Ann.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank y'all for being here. And I'm really looking forward to the day that we're going to have a female up here in the next election. Yay! But the reason I'm up here really is I saw our agenda, and y'all think this is nothing. I saw our agenda, and we used to have it laid out on the courthouse, a diagram of the courthouse, and it's just old white paper now. What happened? Did it cost too much money to keep doing that? I mean, it was beautiful, and now it's just an old white piece of paper. I hope y'all can rectify that some way. Thank you. I love you.
Matt Jackson.
She's not wrong. She's not. Humbly, I got to ask for 4 minutes if you don't mind. I've got it timed down to 4 minutes on the dot, and I'm sorry, but I'll make it as tight as I can. Commissioners, I was here last month to bring to your attention a situation involving a local financial professional and an investment partnership that is currently under federal investigation, a situation in which we believe tens of millions of dollars have gone missing from the members of this community. I'm back because this is not going away. In fact, it's only growing. Since I stood here, federal investigators have made direct contact with victims and are actively requesting documents and information. We are watching, and everything is being documented. Now, I understand there are people who would prefer I not be so public about this, and I get that. None of us want this kind of thing associated with our community. We can't imagine it happening here. But I think what we need more than anything right now is to know that when something this serious does happen here, we don't look the other way. We face it together. And I want to say publicly that I support and commend the local law enforcement for the work that they are doing and how they are coordinating with efforts with the federal agencies. I believe they are doing the right thing, and I believe this community will too. But I'm not here to talk about the legal side of this. I'm here to talk about the people. As recently as a few days ago, I am still receiving phone calls from members of this community who are only now finding the courage to come forward. And I know there are more out there who haven't yet. One of the voicemails I got was from an 80-year-old man. He told me that for the past month, he has been living in a nightmare ever since he received the email telling him that his life savings was gone. I want you to sit with that for just a second. Imagine being 80 years old. You worked your whole life. You did what you were supposed to do. You saved. You trusted someone in your own community with that savings. In some cases, this particular individual even encouraged people to sell their homes, sell family property and inheritance. He sure tried to convince me to sell mine. And now, for so many, it's gone. And when you're 80, you don't get a do-over. These are people who should be living in their golden years of their lives. And that word golden has been stolen from them. There are people in this community right now who are terrified, who are hurting, who are too ashamed to tell their own families what happened, who wake up every single morning wondering how they're going to make it. I'll be honest with you, I've made peace with the fact that I may never see a dollar of my own money back. I'm 41 years old. I can work, I can rebuild. One way or another, I will be okay. And not everyone has that option. And that is why I'm here right now. I'm not asking this county to investigate any further than it already has. I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm asking you to know that this is real. It has happened to your residents. It is especially happening to our seniors. And if anyone walks through your door looking for help or direction, please point them towards me or to the local authorities. They need all the information they can get right now. And to anyone watching this right now who has been affected and hasn't reached out yet, the people who are watching this at home, I know you're affected. I know you're scared. I know you had that voice in your head that said you shouldn't have done any of this. You should have known better. We're all human. We're all flawed. And nobody should be sitting through this alone. So please, if you've been affected, reach out. I'll get you in touch with our community. We got a little group together right now of all the people that have been affected. You're not alone. So please do reach out. And commissioners, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. All right, Heather Johnson.
My name's Heather Johnson. I live in Otto. I just came here to say on behalf of probably everybody on Shope Road, but for sure me, my mother and father, Marjorie and Eddie Johnson, and my sister and brother-in-law, Sarah Johnson and Rob James. Thank you to the Otto Volunteer Fire Department and to the Forest Service for their super awesome, quick, and efficient response to the High Cotton Fire on March 28th, a couple weeks ago. I got the notice that it was happening, and before I could get home, it was already under control. So I can't say thank you enough, obviously. We have farm, livestock, et cetera, so moving them is impossible in a hurry. And there's other people up there with houses, stick-built houses and stuff, so obviously, thank you on behalf of us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. All right, Morgan Stewart.
Hey, Morgan.
Sure. I was going to actually make a joke about how long this speech was, but after Mr. Jackson, I can't make light right now because it's such a serious situation. Last Monday, because the town of Franklin was honoring Local News Day, I made this announcement to them, but I thought I should do the right thing and come talk to you and give you the same information I gave them. Macon Sense newspaper is alive again. We have relaunched it. In fact, Amy Kirkpatrick, our reporter, is here covering this good meeting. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about us and what's going to be new and what's going to stay the same. What's going to stay the same is that our newspaper, our staff, will continue to do our work informed by and in honor of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and our Christian faith. We will still be free. We will still be advertiser supported. We are still locally owned. We are, I am, as the new owner, very committed to our staff who was working for Macon Sense, and so we are still, almost every one of the members of that staff are working with us, and we'll continue that. The news coverage will be just the facts. There will be a heavy emphasis on community stories regarding our nonprofits, our local heroes, our history, events that are taking place. And the way I see it, locals, part-time residents, and visitors will still be able to read Macon Sense. What's going to be different is that we're going to be digital only. We're going the way of the modern world. And so all those part-time residents, full-time residents, visitors can read us wherever they are, on their phone, on their computer, on their tablet. The new website is maconsense.com instead of maconsense.org, so maconsense.com is where we are. Of course, like I said, I'm a new owner, but I'm still local. Our publishing will be virtually daily, so there won't be a rush or you won't be waiting 2 weeks to see new stories from us. So as we go along, new stories, new news, new events, new features, when they're ready to go, we're putting them on the website and we're letting you know about it. We'll have the time and the opportunity to do deeper stories, to do reporting on trends, to do longer interviews with you and our sheriff and everybody in the county who are making news and doing the good work for this county. We are going to add your government alerts. So when Warren and the team put out press releases, you will see that almost immediately, all of them. We're going to have some new voices on our opinion page. It's going to be a little bit different. You'll get some more local voices and some broader view voices. And we're going to be adding new features, digital age features. Things like if you want to listen to the news story, we're going to have that on there. If you want to get notified by SMS or text message, you're going to have that. We're going to be a modern newspaper. And so hopefully we're going to reach a younger generation too. So that's the plan. So I just wanted you to be aware. We're very proud. We've launched. We're still working on the website. It's not perfect yet, but we're getting there. And we're very proud to be able to report on what you're doing and report on this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan.
MakingSense.com.
Sorry?
Was it Making Sense?
MakingSense.com.
.com.
But if you type in makingsense.org, it'll bring you there.
Well,
To do
now,
that. It's .com, but if you
Okay.
make the mistake and go to the old website, you'll go to the new one.
all right.
And
Thanks for your
negotiating with these guys is tough. Just want to show you. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. All right. Any further adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, we can remove item 11C.
All right. Any more? All right, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Hear a motion by Commissioner Breeden, second by Commissioner Shields. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right arm and state aye for the record.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, Ms. Tammy, 5-0. All right. Reports and presentations. 2027 reappraisal for Macon County, Tax Administrator Abby Braswell.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me this time.
Thank you, Amy.
I'd like to tonight give you a presentation on how the 2027 Macon County reappraisal is going. I would like to address why we do a reappraisal, what a reappraisal is, who is affected by the reappraisal, and the timeline of the 2027 reappraisal. Are appraisals conducted to raise taxes? No, they are not. So why do we do them? First, the North Carolina General Statute 105-286 says, all counties in North Carolina are required to complete a reappraisal and reset the assessment values back to the 100% tax value or true market value. Macon County is on a 4-year cycle. This statute above gives the option for counties to change years, but the main reason that Macon County is on a 4-year cycle is to equalize assessments and to be fair and equitable to all taxpayers. Properties appreciate or depreciate at different rates, and the reappraisals are designed to set everybody back to 100% market value, so everybody pays their fair share of taxes. The goal of a reappraisal is to not raise taxes, but to bring the assessments in line with the sales based on fair market value, which will evenly distribute the tax burden based on each taxpayer's assessed value. Here's some examples of equalization and why a reappraisal is necessary so that each taxpayer is fairly assessed and paying taxes equitable to their assessment. Each of these dwellings sold for $4.9 million. Sale 1 has a tax value of $4.1 million and are paying taxes on 83% of their 100% market value. Sale 2 also sold for $4.9 million, but their tax value is $2.3 million, and they are paying taxes on 46% of their 100% true market value. The second example is an example in the opposite direction. Sale 1 sold for $375,000, but the assessed value was $497,930. So the tax assessment is 132% of market. This will get reassessed to $366,940 approximately, and be closer to the 100% market value. Sale 2 sold for $115,000, but the assessed value was $182,000, where the assessment is 130%, 137% of the market value. This sale will get reassessed to around 125,880 and closer to the 100% market value. What does reappraisal mean and how do we reappraise properties? Reappraisal is the process of updating all 44,580 Macon County parcel values to reflect 100% of fair market value as of January 1st of a reappraisal year. The North Carolina General Statute 105-283 says the 100% true value in money or market value is based on sales of properties. True value is the money at which the property would change hands between a willing and financially able buyer and a willing seller, neither being under any compulsion to buy or sell, and both having reasonable knowledge of all uses to which the property is adapted for which it is capable of being used. 100% of market value is based on the most recent qualified sale that occurred leading up to the reappraisal date, or what is the true fair market value. The tax office focuses on any good sales and excludes the sales we know that are not good sales. Anything that does not fit the definition above is not a good sale. Sometimes that's very hard to determine. What properties will be reassessed? The reappraisal process updates all of Macon County parcels, which is around the 44,580 and differs on every day. But it will be completed sometime after January 1st so that we capture sales right up to December 31st. The town of Highlands and the town of Franklin will be affected by the reappraisal, and our reassessments will be used by both municipalities to set the tax rate to create the revenue to fund their budgets. You, the Macon County Board of Commissioners, will use the new tax base to create the revenue required to fund the county budget. As part of a budget in the year of reappraisal, the General Statute 159-11E requires local governments to calculate and publish as part of the budget message in the year of reappraisal a property tax rate that produces the same revenue as the previous year revenue as if there was no reappraisal had occurred. This is the revenue neutral tax rate, and it is to prevent automatic tax increases due to rising property values. This is the revenue neutral tax rate, and to prevent is required to be calculated and shown as part of the budget message, but is not required to be adopted. If real estate prices are generally rising in a county, then a reappraisal will increase the tax base. However, the county's revenue neutral tax rate will be less than the existing tax rate because the county could decrease its tax rate but still produce the same tax levy given the larger tax base in the year of the reappraisal. On our last reappraisal, which was completed in 2023, here's the revenue neutral tax calculation that was part of the 2023 budget message. The assessed value includes real property, personal property, and motor vehicles. As you can see from the 2020 to the 2022 fiscal year, there is some growth to the tax base, normally due to new building, new businesses, and new vehicles. From the 2022 tax year rate of 40 cents per hundred, the board was able to reduce that rate to 27 cents per hundred because there was approximately $4.3 billion added to the Macon County tax base. The County Commission Board at that time chose to accept the revenue neutral rate. The result was the same budget amount as the previous year, and the tax rate came down. And while some taxes went up, they did so because they are now paying on 100% of their true market value. Some taxes also came down, but the assessments were equalized to reflect the 100% market value and that each taxpayer would be paying on 100% assessment. Therefore, the taxes were fair and equitable for each taxpayer on their 100% fair market value. What determines if we are below the 100% in our assessments? The sales ratio, which is also called the sales assessment ratio, and this ratio measures the relationship between a property tax assessed value and its actual market selling price. The North Carolina Department of Revenue requires all 100 counties to submit a sales ratio report each quarter. The sales ratio study here was for the reappraisal year of 2023. Macon County ratio came in at 100.82, which is slightly above the 100% required. And by keeping the revenue neutral tax rate, Macon County became the lowest tax rate in the state. The North Carolina Department of Revenue tracks all counties' ratios for a couple of reasons. It shows them when the counties get too far from the 100% market value and the assessments are below or above the accepted ratio. The purpose is to ensure all property is assessed at 100% fair market value. The North Carolina Department of Revenue looks at the median ratio, and if that falls below 85% or above 115%, they will require you to reappraise within 30 months. This is one reason that most counties in North Carolina are on a 4-year cycle. When the market is rapidly rising, this will trigger a reappraisal to equalize the assessments back to 100%. Another important purpose for the sales ratio is to ensure that the public utility companies are not paying higher percentages of taxes than the county taxpayers. The North Carolina Department of Revenue values the public utilities, and if this ratio falls below 90% in the first, fourth, or seventh year, then an adjustment is applied to the public utility assessment to equalize the utilities assessment so they pay the same median percentage that taxpayers are paying on market values. This weighted average applies to all years after the adjustment has been adopted. The assessment for public utilities in Macon County for 2025 was $262,771,916. How will the reappraisal affect taxpayers? The reappraisal will affect taxpayers' assessed values. It does not mean that their taxes will go up. The revenue-neutral tax rate will be calculated and presented with the budget message for the 2028 budget. The tax rate that is set will determine if taxpayers increase or decrease. Again, it's mandatory to publish the revenue-neutral tax rate in the budget year of the reappraisal, but it does not have to be applied. What can taxpayers do to make sure their assessment is correct? They can obtain a copy of the property tax card, either online or in our office, to check the accuracy of the data. You can call the tax office and speak to someone in our office about their value and what the assessment is based upon. You can call and make an appointment to come sit down with us and go over your assessment. We are open 8 to 5 p.m. Information cards I have placed on the table outside of the door that gives you the information of phone numbers to call, emails you can email, and ways to get in touch with us. The reappraisal will not be complete until sometime in January or the beginning of February of 2027. As it stands right now, the reappraisal assessment will add $3.75 billion to our tax base, or an increase of 30% countywide on average. The percentages will vary on sales per township, and we will continue to work until all the sales are recorded for 2026. So this amount will change daily. I have a proposed timeline for the reappraisal. So I will come back in July and give you an update on the assessment changes. I will present assessments for each township. I will show how the townships have increased or decreased and an approximate percentage for each township. It does not mean that all parcels will go up or go down that percentage because it's just an average. These numbers will change on a daily basis and again, is dependent on qualified sales. In August, I will present the schedule of values and the present use schedule of values to you and ask that a public hearing be scheduled for the next meeting in September. There will be a copy in the tax office and online for the public to review. And the public hearing will be advertised in both Franklin and Highland papers for the next month's meeting. In September, the public hearing will take place. Then at the next commissioners meeting in October, I will ask you to accept and adopt both schedules if you so choose to do so. The notice that the schedule of values has been adopted will be advertised for 4 subsequent weeks in a local newspaper. And at the end of the 30 days, if there are no appeals, the schedule of values and the PUV schedule will be formally adopted and applied to the reappraisal data. Are there any questions?
I think you covered about everything, Miss Abby.
Not quite, but there was way too much to cover in a very short amount of time.
I think she needs to repeat it.
I think she did
Hey,
good.
if you want to hear me start cracking, my voice will just squeak.
All right, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions, please email me. I would love to give you more information
Is it too early to see how we're tracking?
to see.
How we're tracking? 16 million,
30%.
what does that translate to?
30% as a county whole. Obviously, there are certain areas of the county that are a lot higher than 30, and there's some that's a little bit lower. The town of Franklin has not increased very much. It has stayed pretty stable. That could change. We've still got a long way to go. And that last day in December is a doozy, I'll just tell you, because everybody's racing to get there and get it in. Obviously, Highlands is going to be a little bit higher. Kawi's a hot place too. Burning Town is pretty much, they're a little bit up, but there's very few, and I did do, where I received those numbers for those dwellings that went up and went down. What we do, and it's not just us willy-nilly putting numbers on there, we do sales analysis all the time. So a lot of those came from how far off were we? Well, I called you the other day and asked about the sale because that didn't make sense to us. And so we look at every sale, we see if it's a good sale. So sometimes we have to dig to see, is that a good sale? Is that not a good sale? I mean, sometimes people get deals and it's a good sale, even if it's a deal. Some people pay way too much on something because it's where they want to be, it's what they want, and they don't care how much it costs. That, you can't say that's not a good sale, but not everybody would pay that for that. So there's going to be what's called outliers. So you're going to have a line, but then you're going to have all these outliers either above or below. And, that's part of what we do is just because your neighbor sold for way more than anybody thought it would, doesn't mean that's what's going to get put on yours. Because all the other sales in that area are going to say, hey, that's an outlier. We're going to take that one out of there. Okay?
Is a golf course an outlier? I mean, is that how do you look at it versus people below the gate?
So golf courses are in themselves. We do not take sales outside of golf courses and use them against each other. They are totally separate, and we don't intermingle those sales.
Abby, how do you do the, like where these people are buying these mansions and they're tearing them down and they start a new construction? How does that come into play?
If somebody buys a mansion and tears it down, and we all know that's happening a lot, that's the value of the land only. That didn't include the house. That's for the land only. So then, if you get enough of those in a community, and there are places that's happening, that's what your land's going to be worth. But if you have one of those and you don't have any more in that neighborhood, then that's going to be an outlier. So, it's something we look at very closely to see, is that a trend or is that just an anomaly?
All right. Thank you, Abby. All right, capital improvement plan, Mitch with Davenport and Company.
Sir.
Hello, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Good evening. Good to see everybody again.
Good to see you again, brother.
Thank you. Went paperless this year, maybe by accident, but nonetheless, y'all have the presentations virtually, have been emailed to you, and I think we're gonna, okay, perfect. Yep, great. And we'll go through this here on the screen. 12 minutes was my charge. I will try to do that. But I think a lot of this is a little bit of a refresher. So, y'all are old hats at this point. So we'll go through some of the stuff in the beginning a little quickly, just as a reminder, and then maybe focus in on the very specifics for this year and spend our time there. So Big picture, I think it's always, good to refresh, remind. The county has a very strong credit rating, AA2, AA. That's a reflection on you all, the way you manage yourselves financially and otherwise. But it also says you have access to the capital markets, right? We're talking about the capital improvement plan. If you need or want to borrow money to fund a capital project, you have access to borrow that money because of your strong credit rating. That's a very good thing to maintain, gives you flexibility going forward when you think about borrowing for capital. Right side of the page just gives you a little bit of perspective nationally and within North Carolina, how you stack up. And again, I think it's always interesting to look at the names in North Carolina on the bottom right side of that page to see where others are rated. But what goes into that credit rating, right? What does that mean? I think there's a couple of key points here. These are the left-hand side of the page outlines the rating characteristics or the methodologies which the rating agencies use to come up with their baseline rating. Talk off the shorter one, given my time frame. Top left, Moody's. 30% of their rating is economy, right? So that's things like, median household income or per capita personal income, right? Income levels of the county and those residents, demographics generally, population trends, assessed value, tax-based trends, tax assessor left. But what she was just talking about, those tax-based trends, higher assessed value, higher tax base, improves ratings. All of those things, there's nothing you can do as part of this upcoming budget to impact that, right? You can put in economic development incentives, policies, zoning policies, things like that to try to encourage economic development, bring in industry, add commercial, et cetera, to improve your tax base, improve wages. But those are longer term plays, right? There's nothing you can adopt as part of this budget to immediately influence those things. Same thing, I'm going to skip down one, institutional framework, that's 10% of the rating. You're a county in North Carolina, period. You're going to get a score. You're responsible for school capital. You're responsible for courthouses, jails, et cetera. Moody's views that as, their second highest score because of some of those responsibilities. Nothing you can do to change that unless you get statutory requirements changed, which is a very long-term play, I suspect. So that's 40%, almost half the rating, right? The other 60% is financial performance. Your general fund balance, your cash, are you adding to or taking away from policies, et cetera. That's your financial performance. And then the other 30% is leverage or your debt and debt obligations. Does include things like pension liabilities and stuff for your employees, but for the most part, we're looking at your tax-supported debt and the debt that you've issued that's outstanding, which you do have control over to a certain extent, right? You can choose this budget if you want to fund a capital project and fund it with debt. Now, on the flip side, you start a project like Highlands or Franklin High School, you enter into a construction contract, you're kind of baked right at that point, right? Once you enter the contract, you got to fund it. If you don't have the cash, you kind of need to issue the debt to do that. So, but you do generally have control over that piece of it. So those are the two pieces that I'll hit on tonight is the financial performance and the debt outstanding. All right, quick update on general fund financial performance. Just looking back at the 25 audit. Last time we were here, we went through the 24 audited financials. Top left graph is looking at your operating expenses in green, dark green, and then in that lime green color is your capital expenses and your transfers out, which transfers out is largely to capital projects and the debt service fund. And the gold line is your revenues, right? And so ideally, financial performance, you're not subtracting from your fund balance. That gold line is above or equal to those green bars, right? That's a structurally balanced budget. The revenues you're bringing in are matching or are better than the expenses going out.
Basically, in '25, it was about flat. Gold line is on top of that green bar. And if you look at that graph down below, that's your fund balance. Those are, essentially flat to 2024 in the general fund, right? Your revenues matched your expenses and your transfers out in the general fund. So it was basically flat. And a good chunk of that, if you look at that lime green bar, is funding of capital projects, investing in capital projects. Highland School project, for example, was one of the big ones, right? So if you are going to spend fund balance down, and we talked about this last year, a good use of that is for capital projects, one-time projects, right? We don't want to take that fund balance, which is a one-time source, you spend it and it's gone, and put it into, a new service that is going to be annually recurring every year. Salaries, COLAs, which are going to recur every single year. You spend that fund balance 1 year and it's gone, but that expense stays, and now you got not a structurally balanced budget, right? Because you have expenses that are ongoing, but you lost the revenue source that you were using to pay for it. Overall, you have a structurally balanced budget, got a very solid fund balance. We had intended or planned to spend down some of that fund balance as part of the high school funding plan, and it's been able to stay stable over the years, generally speaking. So we're going to dig into that here in a moment. When we flip the next page, looking at your policy, right? You have a general fund policy to maintain unassigned fund balance, minimum of 25%, targeted level of 30%. That's a good policy, very typical policy of what we see. It's in that typical policy range. The dark green line is your unassigned fund balance. That's what your policy is based on. And you see we've done that dark blue dashed line coming off of it, right? That's part of that high school. And when we did the high school project and the CIP at the time, there was the plan to transfer $20 million towards the CIP. Part of that is going to fund some of the increases in debt service from the past bond issues. Part of that was going to fund significant investments in pay-as-you-go cash-funded capital. A lot of those cash-funded capital projects are still in design, still in the works, and haven't been spent yet. So haven't had to spend that money yet. It's still sitting in that unassigned fund balance. I know Lindsay and I have had a lot of conversations about, options to make that a little more clear going forward, assigning that fund balance for the CIP, which you all intended to do, or creating a fund that you can transfer it to and track it separately. I know that's something we're going to continue discussing. But the point is, $20 million was intended and is still planning, a part of it, to be spent on capital projects that just haven't moved forward yet, but that were part of the CIP. So we're really tracking that dashed blue line as the available unassigned fund balance. And that takes you down to that roughly 40% level, gives you about a 10% cushion. That's equal to about, as of the end of fiscal '25, about $6.6 million in excess of that 30% policy limit. Target, not limit. So, it's a good level. You have some additional dollars that you could invest in capital or one-time expenses, but you also don't necessarily want to take it all the way down to the target because, there's other items that influence that, right? If your expenditure budget starts to go up with inflation, you don't have 6.6, you have less because your expenditure level is higher. Your percentage of expenditures, your requirement becomes higher, right? So you typically like to leave a little bit of cushion. You don't necessarily want to take it all the way down to 30%. Y'all know me, interrupt me with questions. Don't feel like you gotta wait. So you're in really good shape. The peer comparative at the bottom shows you where you are on that dark green bar. About half of that, your gold bar, you're up top on the gold bar, about half of that is really when we adjust for that 20 million, about half of that gold bar is where you are. And you can see you would still stack up nicely to these medians for the other rated counties that we're looking at.
So on our credit rating, did we drop a notch on the sheet? For some reason, I thought last year we were AA.
You're
Now we're AA2.
You're still AA2. Yep, AA2 by Moody's, AA by S&P.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Where you stand today, I think there's more opportunities to increase than there is risks of dropping. And I think a lot of the things that we've talked about in the recent conversations we've had with the rating agencies a couple of years ago, you're doing all the right things from a fund balance perspective, from a financial, structurally balanced budget perspective. It's that economy piece that you don't have as much control over, that you don't stack up as well compared to others. And, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? I mean, Industry, absolutely, but also some of the nature of the county, right? You think places down like Highlands where, it's second homes and those people don't necessarily live here and report that as their primary address. So their income may not be showing up in your income levels either. So, and we have those conversations, but it's hard for them when they're just looking at numbers side by side. So, yes, sir.
I may be out of line, but I need to ask it anyway.
Never.
Within Region A, we got 7 counties.
Mm-hmm.
And we have chosen through the voting piece not to support the 1/4 cent sales tax. We're the only county. How does that influence, if it's passed, we're looking at an additional $2 million if we pass that 1/4 of a penny sales tax. Do you have any comment on that?
I'm going to show you.
Okay.
I'll show you here in a minute what that might be able to do.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's see. All right, so that's kind of the financial performance side of things. On the debt side of things, currently have just under 85 million of debt outstanding as of June 30, 2025. All of that's paying off by 2045. You have adopted 3 debt policies. I've gone through these the last several years, probably ad nauseum. I'm not going to go through them in detail here, other than to say you are well in compliance with your policies. You have debt capacity for future capital projects if you choose to debt fund future capital projects under these policies compared to where you stack up with your peers. It is a reasonable tool to utilize additional debt to fund capital if you choose to do so, or if there's a need to do so. Just because you have the capacity doesn't mean you have the affordability, right? I can go out and get pre-approved for a mortgage, but doesn't mean I can afford that mortgage when I look at, my daycare expenses or gotta, get a new fridge or whatever. It doesn't mean I have the cash flow available to pay for that mortgage, but I could get pre-approved for it, right? That's kind of the difference between capacity and affordability. And on the affordability side, over the years, you all have done a really nice job of setting aside dollars for debt service and capital and being able to use those dollars to plan for your capital projects. I mean, y'all remember how many times did we talk about this plan as part of funding Franklin High School, right? I mean, probably got sick of hearing from me, right? But the fact that you had these revenues available, we're able to set aside dollars to go towards that, allowed you to get that project done and pay cash for Highlands and some of these other projects that you're doing now. So it really did set yourself up nicely. One key thing that I'll point out, over here in column M, this capital reserve fund, we're estimating that about $25 million is going to be available at the start of this CIP for that capital reserve purposes. 20 million of that is sitting in that unassigned fund balance right now. So that's that difference between the dark green bar and that dashed blue bar that we looked at on that fund balance chart. That 20 million is that difference. We're estimating that that's still going to be available. That amount will still be available and leave you, as of 25, with that $6 million in excess of your target policy. The additional 5 is in the debt service fund from dollars that were set aside previously associated with funding of the most recent bond issues. So we're starting there, and you can see we are spending that a little bit in the first few years, right? As we still have these elevated levels of debt service expenses. This was anticipated. This was part of the plan, right? We had higher expenses as the debt came online for the first several years, but you had set aside dollars to be able to cover that to minimize the impact on the budget. So we are drawing that down a little bit. You can see it gets down to a minimum of about just under $18 million. That $18 million plus these future surpluses are what's going to be available as we start looking at funding the CIP.
Break this down for me really fast.
Sure.
We moved 25 million to capital reserve. What does that leave us in general fund balance?
As of June 30, 2025, $6.6 million.
And is that 25% of our budget?
Oh, $6.6 million over your
25%.
policy level. So your policy limit, again, I'm speaking off of 25 audit, right? We don't know how 26 is going to end up. I think you're doing well, but there's a lot of time left to go in the year. So your minimum policy amount, right, or your policy target amount of 30% on your $72 million expenditures in fiscal year 25 means you would have to have 21.6 million in unassigned fund balance to hit your 30% target. Okay? You had $48 million, right? So you had excess, right? Over 27 million over. But from there, you back out that $20 million going to this capital reserve, right? That leaves you with 28 million of unassigned fund balance. So 28 minus the 21 target amount, right? 30% is equal to 21.6. That's where it leaves you with roughly that 6.6 million available.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so what does that mean for your CIP? We looked at this a couple different ways. First, this year, some large projects getting funded in the potentially, if you choose to, in the fiscal year 2027. Not all of these are new projects. Some of these are projects that we previously talked about. You'd previously planned to spend out of that fund balance set aside that just haven't moved as quickly. You know, things like the community college projects where they have some grant funds, you have a match fund. Those just haven't moved forward to the point of spending those dollars yet. So we've carried those forward into fiscal 27, right? Because the $20 million is still sitting there. We need to account for those expenses so we don't, double count the $20 million, right? We need to, if we're showing the 25 million being available, even though those expenses were planned to be spent in prior years, they haven't been spent yet. So we're carrying them forward and showing them in 2027. In total, column C, the total capital investment is $47.3 million, but 23.4 of that is anticipated to come from grants, in particular, other funding sources, right? So that leaves you with a net 23 million, right? So 47 million, half of it is not coming from county dollars. It's pretty good. Of the county dollars, the 23.88, we're assuming 13.8 of that is going to be cash funded capital. Pay cash for it, no interest, don't borrow for it. There is the one county facility, we're calling it county facility project, county facility relocation. I know y'all are working through what makes sense department-wise, but we've plugged in $10 million for that county facility relocation project. We're assuming that's going to be debt funded. And if you bear with me, I'll show you why here in a second. But we've plugged that in, assuming you would debt finance that project. New facility, $10 million, long average life of these projects. That one makes, if we're going to look at debt financing one, that makes sense to look at for debt financing. Okay, bear with me. I do want to show you sort of full CIP here. Remember, 47 million in fiscal 27, total 5-year CIP 27 to 31 of 120 million. That does include potential new East Franklin Elementary School and assumes you get the needs-based, Mr. Shields is going to have to correct me, public school needs-based public school capital facilities grant. Did I get it right?
You got it.
All right. Equal to the project cost, right? And so I think the idea would be if we don't get that grant, then kind of revisit that project. So that's inflating these numbers, right? But so of the 120 million, about 66 million coming from grants and other sources, net funding requirement of about 54.2 million on the county side. Some of that is just your normal ongoing capital, right? You got to maintain the buildings you have. You got to buy vehicles, those type of things. If y'all remember, we're assuming that you're going to do just annual recurring capital. We've got an allocation of 2.75 million a year. Part of that, 1.1-ish, a little more is for schools. $1 million is for county. 600,000 is for vehicles, right? That's just kind of a, hey, we know we're going to have to do these smaller HVAC, roofs, parking lot type projects every year for the county facilities we own. We're allocating a minimum amount of dollars for that until those actual projects are identified. So part of that is the annual recurring. And then you do have some other one-time projects. We've called out some of the larger ones up in the top here, highlighted in the green. And these are the projects that we're assuming, the green projects, we're going to assume as we look to fund the CIP that these are debt financed for now. Those are not happening until 2029 to 2031, right? So a lot of time until we get there. If y'all continue to outperform the budget, continue to have surpluses, there may be additional cash available that you can pay cash for some or all of those, but we don't have it yet, so we're not going to count on it. Okay? A little more detail on that on 15, and as in past years, in the appendices, you can see all of the detail you want. But I'm going to fast forward to the results here. Page 16 shows you the summary. And y'all remember, we basically take this CIP and we run it through that debt affordability model and the debt capacity model to come up with these results. If y'all want to go to the back, you know me, I'm happy to walk through all the details. It's all back there, but high level, here's the results. Scenario 1, we're showing your fiscal year 27 projects without the county facility. Remember, I said we're assuming we're borrowing for that. And this is going to show you why we're borrowing for that, right? Without the county facility, it's $44 million of CIP in fiscal year 27. You're good on all your debt ratios. You have capacity. I'm not going to talk about those ratios anymore. All these scenarios, you're good. Line 21, right? You can cash flow all of these projects, this 44 million. You can pay for those. 23 is coming from grants, 20 million is coming from county cash, and you've got that money. We saw that, right? And that would leave you with a minimum capital reserve balance of $6.8 million. Over and above your unassigned fund balance, right? That's separate. This is capital reserve. You got your 30% plus a little bit of cushion, right? We're not touching that. This is that capital reserve. It gets down to 6.8 million, right? That's a little short of being able to cash fund that $10 million project. And we didn't want to take it all the way down to zero. So that's where column E, we've layered in that county facility, and we assume we're debt financing that. And you can still fund that, and you can fund that project within your existing cash flows, plus the annual $2.975 million allocation for future capital projects, recurring future capital projects. You can cash flow that, and it takes your minimum capital reserve balance down to about $1.9 million. Okay? Scenario 3 is where we layer in the entire CIP. So there's additional projects 28 through 31. And what we see is line 19, additional revenue required. We are a little short being able to cash flow that from the current resources and that 25 million beginning balance in the capital reserve. There would need to be about $11 million of additional revenue over time. The first year you would need some of that 11 million would be 2031. So 4 to 5 years from now. There's a lot of time for things to evolve, right? You get additional surpluses that can go towards that 11 million and reduce that. But we have equated it to, the equivalent tax rate to fix that 11 million if you went that route. But again, you don't need the first penny, or shouldn't say penny, that's a bad. You don't need the first dollar to fix that gap until 2031. So there's a lot of time to deal with that. So can't quite fund the full CIP, a little short, but a lot of time to address it, a lot of time to evolve, maybe some additional dollars become available. To Mr. Shields' question, down on lines 27 to 31. If the quarter-cent sales tax passes and you choose to dedicate that towards capital projects, you can see, your minimum cash balances for scenarios 1 and 2 obviously go up, right? Scenario 1 goes up to 10.7 million. That, if you wanted to cash fund the county facility, that would allow you to do that, right? Scenario 3, where we had the shortfall identified, now there's no shortfall, and there would be a minimum capital reserve balance of just over $6 million, right? So now you fix that shortfall and you got a little more money. Again, if it passes and if you choose to dedicate it towards capital. Just wanted to, anticipating that may be a question, Mr. Shields, just wanted to show that for perspective.
Thank you.
So all in all, it's a little better, looks a little better than it did last year. And you did a little better 25 that allowed us this to look a little bit better. So I think, in good shape financially, you got a lot of capacity for additional debt. You have a lot of affordability for additional capital projects without the need for a whole lot of debt financing. And when you think about it, right, $120 million 5-year CIP, 66 million of that is assumed to come from non-county resources, and only half of the remaining amount is assumed to be borrowed. So some pretty significant cash capital investment, and if you continue to perform the way you have in the past, continue to grow, sales tax does better, additional dollars go into the bottom line, there should be additional cash available to reduce some of this future borrowing or some of the shortfall that we see. I was faster than last year, but I did not hit the 12 minutes.
We're good, Mitch. So I'll add a couple of things to what Mitch said. Mitch, can you go back to maybe page 15 for me? I guess one thing to remember when we talk about those numbers he's talking about with the $6 million, remember we also have the 30% left in fund balance as well. So there's $21 million somewhere that we're always sitting on to cover our normal operating stuff and to give us that little cushion if things come up during the year. So we're not getting down to zero. There's always the 21 million sitting there to cover us when the roof goes bad and we have to fix it, or the $100,000 projects that come in during the year. We talked a lot about this modeling, and if you look at some of these projects, you know, you may choose, we threw $10 million out there for a quote county relocation number. You may look at that and you may say, I may want to do 5 million, or I may find a solution for 2 million. So we can change that model very easily once we know what those figures are, to plug those in to tell you where you're going to land. And you're going to see some projects on there like the 29, 30, 31 years. Those are projects submitted by the school system that we really haven't edited. You know, those may change. Those are some big dollar figures. So I don't want you to think that this is definitely the route we're going to go, but this is a good modeling picture for you as we move into this year. We talk about using that money like we wanted to, run the scenarios, let's see where we're at, and you'll even see, I mean, we've taken a pretty good shot at stuff for up to 10 years, but we've even modeled out to 2053. That's 27 years. I won't be here in 2053. That it's hard sometimes to go a year or 2 or 3, but when you're talking about that far out, that's a best guess estimate where we think we're going to land. So when you look at this stuff, I want you to really look at it as a planning tool for us to plug numbers in, to get what you want, to meet those minimums that you've got. I'm not a fan of debt. Mitch knew I wanted to cash flow the 10 million right off the bat, but when you look at how this models, in some cases it makes sense to debt fund stuff because it keeps other money free that you can use for the other things. So I just want to reiterate that none of this is set in stone. This is for you to look at, to model off of, to point us in the direction on where you want to go with these funds. And then we can readjust the models to show you where you'll be, not just this year, but 10 years down the road.
Yeah, and I think that, sorry, Warren, I know you're
I'm
looking for me to comment, but I tag on. I mean, it's a really good point, right? Because what are you doing right now, right? We've shown you the 5 years. It goes out 10, 15 plus years beyond this. We've focused on the 5 years. But the reality of it is you can, adopt or approve a 5-year CIP, but the only thing you're funding is fiscal year 27. You're going to fund fiscal year 27 as part of the fiscal year 27 budget. All the other years can change. And we do this for a lot of clients, and all the other years normally do change, right? Things evolve, priorities change, costs change, et cetera. I mean, these are estimates as of this point in time, but you've got to do what you do, and you revisit this every single year. So the benefit of, looking out to years 4 and 5 and beyond that is more identifying what are our needs that are coming up, not necessarily how much you've got to come up with today to fund those needs. Does that make sense? The benefit is more in identifying, I've got capital needs coming up. I need to start thinking about those, start planning for those, but you are not making a funding decision on those as part of the fiscal 27 budget.
I'm sure you covered this, but the figures you give me with the 25 million capital reserve and the 6.6 million fund balance, does that reflect the 26 CIP, Parks and Rec, both phases, phase 1A, phase 1B?
So that's where I said that, and I probably didn't say it very well, but if you go back and look at the 2027 projects,
27, I'm sorry.
phase 1A and 1B are on the fiscal 27 budget, right? That's because they didn't get funded to date in fiscal year 26.
Okay.
And so we're showing that 20 million, but we're bringing these projects that you had planned to fund from part of that, we're bringing those forward into 27 so that we're not double counting those dollars, right? You'd planned to fund them out of the 20 million. They haven't been spent yet, so we're pulling them into 2027 to not double count the spending of that 20 million.
And I'll add to that, if you look at, and obviously those phases, we went ahead and did the tennis courts. So that was already done last year. So that was part of the 1A, I guess it was. So now we're into the 1A, 1B. But then remember, we talked about, we applied for the Partif grant. So If that comes about, then we would need to do the match money for that, which is the 600,000, the 1.2 million. So we went ahead and plugged that in just in case we get that part of grant. Now, if we don't get that part of grant, obviously we may kick that down to the next fiscal year. So that, we pre-planned that a little, anticipating we would get funding, but then we have the option that could move to next year. And then we're also playing catch-up on some things. If you look at line 18 on there, that's the, he mentioned the community college. That was the burn building that a previous board committed to that project, but it took forever because of the bond money that the school system got, the community college system got. You know, that's just now coming to, it'll be completed hopefully in November, I think's the date, and then the renovation of the armory. You know, that was a commitment that was made years ago that we're just now seeing come up in the CIP, which again is very important to use as a planning tool, because we can plug that in and we, going forward, we know that. We know where those monies are and what's going to hit us next year.
Okay, go back to my question. This is hard to keep up with. Now, if you insert the 1/4 of a penny sales tax, which we don't have, but we have a resolution saying we can put it on our ballots. And it brings in previously about $2.3 million a year. Is that a breath of fresh air or for the budget piece, or I'm losing something here?
So it depends on how you choose to apply it, right? And I don't,
Is that your
Warren and
CIP?
Lindsay can correct me, right? But if you choose to apply it to the CIP,
Right.
that is going to give you additional cash flow to fund capital projects. So I think probably easiest to see here. So like on scenario 3, right? If all of these projects were to move forward at these amounts in the years they're planned, and you have no additional dollars other than what's currently committed, the 25 million in the annual set-asides, right? You're short by about $11 million. Line 19, right? Down on line 28, 29, if you get the 1/4 sales tax and you dedicate that to funding capital projects, you're no longer short. This is a touchscreen. I have no idea. That line goes to 0, right? And line 31, the minimum capital reserve balance goes to 6.095 million. Right? So you go from being short 11 to having additional 6 million over this period where you could look at funding capital.
And
So-
I'm sorry, Mitch.
No, go ahead.
When you
Go
see
ahead.
that number, that could also be a property tax increase. We also have revenue that comes in. I mean, you're talking many years out. There's a standard percentage that we would think that our sales tax normally is going to increase, whether you do the 1/4 increase or not. But there's a lot of different things that go into that equation on an income, because it's going to rise a little bit as you go anyway, because of just the values that Abby talked about. I think she said 1.62% increase in our normal stuff that happens with our tax base during the year. People build houses, stuff just comes in and changes, people buy vehicles. So we're not saying that you have to have the 1/4 sales tax to get that, but if you wanted to do all of these things, fund scenario 3, that's the dollar figure that you would have to have, whether it is 1/4 sales tax, increase in your other revenue somewhere, or the tax increase.
And
Or a tax increase.
Correct.
So you got an option here of 1/4 of a penny sales tax versus maybe, I don't know how much on your property tax increase.
1.69 cents.
yeah, if you waited and put it in place until you absolutely needed it, 1.69 cents. If you did it this year and started collecting those dollars and setting them aside, just under a penny.
So if we say there's a possibility that your property tax could be raised 2 cents, that's a rounded number. You're using 1.9?
Yeah, I mean, so value of a penny in fiscal '26 is equal to like $1.3 million.
Okay.
We're assuming in these scenarios, we're assuming that the quarter cent sales tax starts at $2 million and grows from there, right? Sales tax is volatile. We don't want to be too aggressive in the assumption, right?
Right.
So, it is a little less than 2 pennies equivalent on $2 million, right? $2 million assumed sales tax revenue, maybe 2.3 versus 1.3 cents per penny on the tax rate. So 2 pennies on the tax rate would generate $2.6 million. The quarter cent is giving you somewhere a little shy of that.
2.3. Okay, selling point, thank you.
All right, Mitch, on the undesignated fund balance, what did you say it was? What was the amount?
I'm just going to throw it up here for you so you can see it. Probably can't read that very well, but $48 million.
Okay, so we've got 48 million undesignated fund balance.
Yeah, unassigned, but remember,
Unassigned,
20 of
million,
that.
So it's 28 million really, that's, all right. With the investment, how much is this producing in gains with this money being invested?
I didn't bring my.
Because with this money, you're talking about spending it, you're talking about it being invested. Well, somewhere along the line, the county is gaining from that investment. What does that number look like? Because you could actually spend that much money every year and never touch.
Absolutely, yes.
That
And
amount.
now remember, so of that 28 million, 21 of that is your target policy. So you're not going to spend that, right?
30%.
Yeah.
Recommendation 20%. We have it set for 25%. And we want to have a minimum of 25%, but no more than 30%.
Yeah, minimum 25, and then once you hit a 30% target, above that, you can start spending it on one-time capital is the way the policy
Or
is
set up the capital fund and every time that you gain from the 30%, which was the 21 million, so every year you're going to gain from your investments that would actually go into the capital. So how much is that, Ms. Lindsay?
Like interest.
Round numbers, right? I think that Capital Management Trust, which is where you typically invest your funds, is around, I think, a 375-ish right now. So, on $10 million, every $10 million, that's $375,000.
So,
And that's a really good question. That's one of the things that she and I are actually working on. When we project your revenues and your budget, obviously we have to take that in consideration. And then we don't necessarily base that on what we made this year. We'll take an average of a set number of years to give us that cushion in there. So that also you should see reflected in your budget message this year, how those revenues play out. And that's a really good point, because if you're making good money off of it, yes, you can leave it in there. You do take some heat from the public for having that money sitting in the bank. But yes, it does help you big picture, because if you made $1 million a year, that's almost equivalent of a penny on the tax rate.
And Mr. Sherrill, that is, in reality, that's what you're doing right now, right? Because you can't get but so aggressive in budgeting your investment income, right? I mean, we saw it at 0% a few years ago, 0.01%, and it got up north of 5% less than a year and a half later. So, that's pretty volatile. You got to be careful when you're budgeting for that. And so that is kind of similar type thing on sales tax that can plummet pretty quickly. So you got to be careful in how you're budgeting for that. And so that's oftentimes, those two items often create some of the budget surplus that you see year to year. And what happens to that budget surplus, right? It goes above the target level, and then it's available for y'all to spend on capital, kind of like we're doing with the 20 million, we're moving that over, and you can see we're trying to spend it all. So that's kind of what you're doing at this point. And every year, if you continue to have those surpluses, it insulates that $20 million. The $20 million goes farther, right, over in the capital reserve. So whether you put it into a fund and call it an endowment and we're not going to spend the capital, we're only going to spend the interest, or you still kind of practice like you do and budget conservatively on the investment income and sales tax and other items, kind of accomplishes a similar thing. I'm not saying it's as dedicated as what you're suggesting, but you're kind of getting there to a certain extent.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mitch, very well done.
Hopefully that was helpful. I went over the 12, but that last part it wasn't on me.
We'll talk about that later, Mitch.
It wasn't on me.
Good to see y'all.
See you, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, old business. Update and request for funds for Kawi Fire and Rescue. Mr. Pendergrass and Mr. Pickens.
We're gonna have to leave that on there, we're gonna.
Having us tonight. Warren didn't give me a time limit, so 6 minutes. Like I said, appreciate y'all for letting us come up and speak tonight. We talked about it for several months, about the 6-month mark, to come give you an update of where we stand after the merge or takeover, however you want to look at that. Hope to just be able to come in and give you all positives, and I do have more positives than negatives, but unfortunately, a lot of unforeseen maintenance issues and stuff that's come up, and I'll go into that in detail in just a couple minutes. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update where we stand right now after gaining access to both of the stations and the apparatus. We began going through all the equipment. County officials came down. We did a full inventory of everything, and all was present and accounted for there. So far, we've taken on 9 members that was from the existing fire department. 3 new members from the community have come out and joined since then. It's bringing our total membership of firefighters up to 76. We have 6 junior firefighters. 1 applicant from the Burning Town community that just showed up this past Thursday. And we've got 3 more in the community that's waiting to turn 14. They're jumping up and down, waiting on their birthday to hit this year so they can come join. We've increased our full-time staff from 1 to 2, so we have a full-time person dedicated for both districts, because we're all 1 district now, but we're still technically set as 2 districts, and we're taking over the responsibilities for the Burning Town district. We've added 8 part-time firefighters, allowing 2 to work a day, so 5 days a week. That's Monday through Friday. 7 to 5, we have 2 firefighters on, covering both sides. With brush fire season on us right now and the dry conditions, we've been able to add additional resources during the day as well. We did hold our community meeting back right around that ice storm that we were projected to get. So I think that had the numbers down a little bit, but there was between 25 and 30 from the community, plus several of the firemen there. We gave a good presentation to them with a lot of good positive feedback from the community. Staff reports, and I've got to witness it myself too, working out of both of those stations, helping them out. Community coming in, appreciate seeing the bay doors open, fire trucks out, and them running up and down the road answering calls. Very, very proud of what our team's doing there. We've increased our board of directors by adding 2 additional community members, and we have done that effective last month at our annual election. So we have 2 community members to represent the Burning Town, Iola district. That gives us a 14-member board. We finished out the 2025 year with 526 calls, and so far to date, we're sitting right at 138 calls for the year so far. Maintenance issues and concerns, and I believe that's attached. Do you all have that? Okay. I want to cover that, and then if you have any questions, please ask away. We did inherit their budget, so obviously I used most of that this year. Majority of that has had to be placed in maintenance and different issues. You'll see the first two items there is two of their four-wheel drive engines. If y'all will remember back to a time during the probationary period, these were apparatus that would not pass a pump inspection, but then later did pass the pump inspection. So one of our first tasks that we took on after gaining access to everything was to bring both companies in that had tested these apparatus with a pass and with a fail, and neither one of those would pass pump inspection. So we had to pull those trucks out of service because if that's my home, that engine's going to work, and we're going to know for a fact that it's going to work. That was not the case here. The first one has been repaired. A new pump had to be installed. It was $15,911.47. The other one, the estimate to fix it is $18,000. We currently do not have the budgeted means to take care of that, but we pulled our reserve engine from the Oak Grove station and placed it at the Burningtown station on Dave's Creek, so we are 100% in compliance with state and county requirements. Moving on down to what we're now calling Station 5, that is the Iola substation that's on Iola Church Road. Within the first few weeks of moving in, first decent rainstorm that came through, the guys called me and they said, Chief, we've got a problem. Water leaking terribly inside the bays through their tongue and groove ceiling that's in this station, and it looked like a sprinkler system was activated throughout the building. So we went through there, tried to figure it out ourselves and get a diagnosis on it, and had contractor come out and look at it, then which led to me asking Mr. Joe Allen if he would come down and take a look at it. The quote that we had received, and I wanted to make sure that that kind of matched and seemed legit. The build in that area was not to the commercial code, North Carolina Commercial Code. That's going to be $26,098.80, and that project has not been completed yet because of not having the funds to do so. If you look through the rest, a lot of these items, only the items that are highlighted is what we're going to be asking you all to help us out with. Apparatus, we found 15 tires that needed to be replaced. That was over $5,000. One of the tanker had an issue there, $1,600. Pickup truck, 2012 Tahoe, just shy of $1,000 for bad motor mounts, control arms, et cetera. A 2020 pickup truck, bad fuel filters, documented water in the fuel. The next big ticket item was their rescue airbags and the control kit to run those. For anybody that doesn't know, that's if we're stabilizing a vehicle or needing to lift a vehicle or building or anything off of a victim. These tools are required. We do have that at one of the Kawi stations, so we're covered, but it would be nice to replace this set that's corroded and all the airbags was dry rotted. So the second we try to blow one of those up, it's really going to blow up. It's $13,073.82. That remains out of service because we do not have the funds to replace. Their battery-powered jaws, jaws of life equipment. I had not received an annual service in over 3 years. All the batteries needed to be replaced, and that was $5,500. One of the brush trucks, you can see there, a little over $2,800 in repairs. A few of the other items is just, basically we started tracking the expenses on day one, just to show and keep up with that. And you can see the rest of those and see what we've handled there. Like I said, if you got any questions with those, please let me know and I'll answer them the best that I can. It didn't come lightly for me to just jump and run up here and ask you guys for money. I'm very proud of our board, our officers, and our members. We take great pride in what we do. As Ms. Abby said a few minutes ago, Kawi's a hot place, and I couldn't agree more. And now we're making the entire district a hot place. The totals that we have spent so far is $52,473.19 in major needs. The major needs before this that I mentioned to you, other than the one truck that we did replace to get it back in service, if we were to spend everything, fix everything right now, we're sitting at about $109,000. And just within me presenting all this to Warren a few days ago, it led to the next truck on our list to go get serviced was the other brush truck that we inherited. And that's the fuel filter. Anybody wants to see fuel filter? It's an additional about $2,500 that we've approved and fixed, and it's back in service to us. So we inherited a mess, but we're making it better. It's already better. We are here to ask for $75,000. That is not to pad our pockets. That is simply to finish the repairs that need to be repaired. It's just hard for me to budget for without asking for a tax increase. And also to help offset, some of what we have put into this that, in my opinion, yes, we inherited their budget, but it did not take on a lot of unforeseen expenses due to lack of proper maintenance. Now, any questions for me?
Dustin, I have several. The date of the merge that you actually took over, completely takeover of everything, what was that date?
Well, it was, contract was signed September the 11th. They took another 3 weeks to a month maybe to finalize the stuff on their end. And at that point, we conducted the inventory of all the equipment, pagers, radios, stations, and moved in within a month of that. During that time where we did not have access over there, but obviously they were not running calls because their contract was gone, we staged apparatus at Iowa School during the daytime hours so that there was adequate coverage.
How much money was left in the Town, Iowa Fire Department account when y'all inherited this big?
There was a cashier's check issued to us from a savings account for $35,259.92. And basically, for the previous discussions where it was, you all had recommended them discuss with me some sort of reimbursement for the 13 months of us answering their calls for them. The figure that I had come up with was based off of 131 medical calls, where we averaged sending 4 personnel and 1 med truck to each call at $12 per member per call, because that's what we reimburse, and then $50 for the use of the truck, which is well below average, but fair in my opinion. We also answered 50 fire-related calls during that period, and we averaged 13 personnel and 4 apparatus for $12 per member per call and $75 per apparatus on that, which totaled $35,638.
So that money was really used to reimburse you for covering that district? Okay.
That's what our board accepted, though.
How much money have you collected through the 25-26 tax collections for the Town, Iowa Fire Department district?
The combined total as of March 31st for county fire tax is $616,568.
Okay. And that's Town?
That's Town and
No,
Kawi combined.
how much actually came in?
I didn't bring that sheet. Actually, $261,182.05 for the Town district.
Okay. So you guys have spent $52,473 on the things that you've completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what have we used the 209,000 that you have collected for Vernon Town District?
So basically, I took a copy of their budget, what they'd presented and was passed before all this started, and compared their line items to the line items in our budget and placed those in accordingly best that we could. Majority of that went into our part-time budget, and then obviously taking on their full-time firefighter that, ultimately lost her job. But she started for us the very next day, so she was not out anything.
So in the service fees that the fire departments provide to the citizens of the district, is that not what this money is for, is to keep up with all the equipment and the facilities, and is that not what the money, that's how you manage to buy new turnout gear and all this other stuff? Okay, so you had 209,000 over that, and paid firefighter. I'd like to, and you still have some outstanding, I'm sure, for tax collections for the 25-26 fiscal year. All right. So explain the building, the property, and the grounds, and the office equipment and stuff at Burningtown Iola Fire Department when you got there.
Pagers, radios, all that equipment was there and accounted for. Turnout gear was there, accounted for. Apparatus was all there and accounted for. And of course, the documentation that we received that shows that the apparatus had passed pump inspection and all the tests, everything was presented there. We did find there was several sets of keys that was still floating around, so we did have to change the locks and keys for both of those buildings. Moving forward from that point, once that was done, there was no other access in there for means of anything to disappear. But everything was there, and I was not there to participate in that just because. But those that were there said everything was handled very cordially and everything was fine.
So even though it was there, a lot of it was not functioning or wasn't usable. Turnout gear, I mean, the bunker gear and stuff, was it all up to?
There was several sets that was out of date to the standard, which is older than 10 years, but a majority of the gear and all the current members that we have in date turnout gear. We do have, from means of our budget moving forward, there will be replacements, and to be honest, I would have rather spent the $15,000 on several sets of turnout gear than putting a pump in an engine that supposedly passed inspection but didn't.
So you mentioned your extrication stuff that was there. You took it out of service, and you're using Kawi stuff. Any new equipment that you saw? Anything that would have been purchased in the last year or two that you could identify?
They had received a grant. They had received a grant approximately a year prior to this, and had received 20 brand new air packs and 40 bottles. So those are in date, and they were just recently serviced per their annual service agreement. And all that's good.
Well, as as a county commissioner and retired firefighter, Burningtown, Iowa Fire Department is very fortunate that your operation was willing to step up to do this.
I appreciate that.
And you're running a very good, if you can have 76 members in today's world as a fire service, it's incredible. Now, this goes back to the real problem that I have. Burningtown, Iowa Fire Department has collected millions of dollars with no evidence that there's been any maintenance, any new apparatus, any new equipment, or anything. I make a recommendation that we have a forensic audit of Burningtown, Iowa Fire Department for the last 3 to 5 years to see where this money went. There's something, I mean, you just don't have a roof that starts leaking at the spur of the moment at the in-depth that you're talking about. You don't have all this failing equipment just out of a 6-month time frame. Somewhere along the line, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but I think it's worth investigating as to where this money went. And you absolutely need the stuff to protect the citizens, to save property and save lives in Burningtown, Iowa Fire Department, and to keep your men and women safe.
And I do want to add, the members that came to us from that organization, they are, diehard Burningtown community members, citizens. And it took a lot of nerve, a lot of courage, I should say, for them to walk through the doors that first Thursday night. Now, there was 3 that didn't make the cut, but I've encouraged them to come back in 6 months with, positive attitude, and we can get through that. But I'm very proud of those men and women that did come through the doors and help us increase and keep that going over there.
And then you added the 2 board members from Burningtown, Iowa community. I mean, I can't say enough about what you guys have done, Dustin, to step up to the plate, because volunteer fire service is in trouble. Not only here, across the state, across this country. And that is a service that we must provide. I looked at all your stuff. I see what you're saying. I don't know where the money comes from. And, I don't know if it's, I don't know. So please pop in. I mean, I don't know.
I would like to say thank you for what you've done, Mr. Pickens, Kawi, volunteer. I think it's an anomaly. You don't see that, type of numbers volunteer-wise. You guys done a great job. So, I mean, I feel like, we had kind of pledged the idea of paying you for those calls and whatever that number was. But I just want to say thanks. I think you guys helped us out of a huge bind with that merger. And I think that you, or the fire department, the fire service, the communities deserve to have, operational equipment, things that they need to get out there and handle the calls, save lives, whatever the case may be. I would agree with Commissioner Sherrill on a potential audit. I don't know what that would cost, but, and I don't know what that would result in. It's in the past, but if we're looking forward, what you guys have been able to do and accomplish in that community, I think that's really what we need to be focused on. So me personally, I would vote to support the $75,000 that you're asking for.
All financial records that were present upon us gaining entry to the buildings have been secured, and they are locked up. And if you go through with that, they'll be available at any time. And I just emailed Lindsay today with our budget, and as far as showing expenses, total expenses from over there for the last year, like I wish I could put in here, I don't have that information. But I can tell you where every penny's been spent beyond past September, October of last year. I can tell you where every penny's went.
Dustin, is the communities down there, are they fireproof?
Yep.
With this deficiency that you've shown us here today, are they still good?
Oh, yes. Our average response time for the last 5 to 6 months, I ran a report a couple weeks ago, from time of dispatch till apparatus on scene, is just shy of 10 minutes. Now, that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon when there's staff, or it's 3 o'clock in the morning when there's no staff, or Saturdays and Sundays when there's no staff.
And you're requesting 75,000, is that what it was?
That would offset the rescue equipment, that would replace that rescue equipment, I should say, replace the pump on the second apparatus that we just haven't had the funds to do so, and kind of, it's reimbursing for what we pulled out to pay the 15,000 for the other one.
Where does the fire tax fit in here? How does the people in the community, they pay the fire tax, but do they feel?
I hope they feel very safe.
That's what I was afraid of.
There has been, bay doors are open, trucks are pulled out. We have community members over there stopping in all the time. We've already got plans for a spaghetti supper coming up at the Iola station there. Looking at doing a family fun day. A lot of the members that came to us said they used to always, it had stopped recently, but they would do a family fun day open house at the Daves Creek station, when events that we've always held, now it's time to hold big events for the entire community. The biggest thing I want is there's no separation. There's no Kawi and Oak Grove and Burning Town and Iola. We're one now, and we're going to be one.
Do you have a time frame that you're looking at here to get back in providing service 100%?
We're good. We're good right now. We're using a reserve engine that's sitting at the Daves Creek station to take care of the truck that's out of service. So, we're in compliance, and we went through a 9S inspection right at the first of the year. We passed, that was fine. Our Kawi's ISO rating is a Class 3 for the entire 5-mile district. Burning Town's a Class 4. And at some point in the near future, we'll have to go through the ISO again, and our plan is to bring that 4 down to a 3 to match what the rest of the district is.
I think it's very important, Dustin, now that you're talking about this. A lot of people that's listening and watching don't realize what these ISO ratings are. And if you're not really familiar with this, what these men and women are doing, when you have a 9 rating, your homeowner's insurance is through the roof. The training, the equipment, the substations that these men and women do in uniform, when they talk about a 5, 4, and 3 rating, call your insurance company and ask them how much money going from a 9 to a 5 to a 4 to a 3. There's not a whole lot of savings from a 5, 4, 3. There's a little bit, but it's because of their dedication. And to expect a group of volunteers to commit to provide and to serve the community. That's what you're doing. And the homeowners are truly benefiting financially by insurance on this. So it's there again, it's incredible what y'all did and what you're doing. And I don't know where the money is. You didn't ask for felling equipment. And you're willing to step up and take care of it. So, you need the money. Where's it coming from?
So I will touch on that subject. Obviously, you have general fund money, and then you have service fee money, which sits on two sides of the house. However, on the fire fee side, it's not necessarily like your enterprise money with the landfill. We traditionally don't move money from fund balance, from general fund to the fire side, but there's nothing that says that you can't do that. So I
I would
guess,
recommend maybe treating it like community funding, so we can appropriate, because I don't really want to mix his revenues with his fire taxes. I don't think that would be good to do, so maybe you would entertain the motion to do fund balance and just move it to like the community funding, and we could issue him a one-time check.
How about we loan him the money? How about we do it like everybody else? You get it fixed, give her the bills.
If we reimburse him? Yeah, I mean, you can do it that way. I mean,
we're fine
you
with
have
that.
the cash flow to be able to,
Yeah, we can,
up to 75,000.
I mean, I think that's, they need help. And, I don't know about the, what's left in the tax collections and stuff like that, but I think we need to help them to get this place, secured, and then,
Are you just reimbursing him from the fund balance at that point?
I mean, we would still have to appropriate the money,
Yeah.
because I have to be able to,
Yeah.
I mean, I would move 75,000 and then just reimburse him as he sends those in. If you would rather him pay for it and show us what he's paying for, or you can give it to him and he has to report to us, we've done that as well.
I
So
like
you can
that.
give him a $75,000 check, but then he has to come in and provide receipts for us and reports for us on what that money was spent on. It's either, we'll do whatever you want to do, but
even though it's one district, it's two districts. So if you're working a wreck in Kawi and all of a sudden there's a wreck in Burnetown and you only have one set of gear for extrication, then you're depending on that other equipment. So it should be up and running. Air packs and everything in Burnetown is,
yeah, air packs are good, and the jaws of life, that stuff's good. It had not been serviced. The batteries, when you put the batteries in the tools, they'd last about 5 minutes. So that had to be replaced, and obviously, in our opinion, that was an emergency fix and was fixed immediately. Getting one of the engines back in service was an immediate, and that has been taken care of. The other one, it's going to be roughly $18,000, and that's give or take.
we're just like in Highlands, we're having back-to-back calls on top of each other. That's, so when you're limited on equipment numbers and stuff like that, it's important, so.
I'm not saying this in a negative way, but as a commissioner, what kind of, what are we opening up here? For all the fire departments to come and bring in their deficiencies, or what's worst case scenario, I guess I could say?
Can I help you right there? That's
Yes, sir.
what I've really been wanting to say. I feel like this is not a traditional, expense. I feel like they, as Mr. Sherrill alluded to, they've stepped up to the plate. They've inherited, issues that weren't foreseen, but obviously you're trending in the right direction. You're not asking for a mill rate increase.
No.
I would say that I think it's more calibrated to tax your district, but the problem is you need the money up front to be able to use the equipment. And volunteer firefighting is the best deal we have in this community. I mean, I don't think we have an option, and I just want to go on record and say I don't think this is a typical, fire department coming and asking for funding. So,
And I would like to hope that does not open up that's not our goal here,
But merging is what y'all have done. It's unique. And,
Yes.
and I think that other fire departments are not in that same situation.
Mr. Chairman, I'll add one other thing real quick and then I'll stop talking. Eric and I have already started looking at our contract. We learned some things through this process. So we will bring you back a draft contract sometime in the next several months. It'll cover things like reimbursement if you have to be covered by somebody else. We will work on our contract to better protect ourselves and them in the future if that were to happen, if that makes you feel any better.
Well, I think this is definitely not a traditional situation. You guys stepped in and did something pretty major. So however we can make this efficient, to work for you guys, because I know y'all putting forth a lot, to be able to do this. So thank you, for what you guys are doing.
I put a lot of confidence in this statement, too. The remaining fire departments in Macon County are very strong, and anybody can go through issues, but they're going to get through those issues. But I could honestly tell you, I guarantee there's not another fire department that has that type of maintenance issues, mechanic issues, because we fix stuff as it needs to be. We have annual service on our equipment, our jaws, our apparatus. Our apparatus receives a bumper-to-bumper service every year. The picture that I showed you of that fuel filter that looked like it was oil, that was over 9 years old. So,
And I don't have a problem fronting the money. I don't feel like, if you provide receipts for repairs made, I'm perfectly fine to front the money.
Well, what we've done traditionally is, when we were funding repairs or something like that, they got the work done, they presented it back. We can certainly budget the $75,000, just let them get the repairs done,
And then whatever.
and then they can be reimbursed for, if they have the means to do it, knowing
I mean,
they're
is
gonna-
there an overlap where you'd have to use Kawi funds to fund the Burning Town Iola repairs, and then does that get messy on the accounting side?
now that our budget's basically come one, I mean, we're obviously tracking and we're receiving, the two separate checks. And, we didn't develop a complete separate budget for Burning
Okay.
Town. We added
Okay, so these are all-
to our budget, but I'm still tracking the money that's coming in, and we're tracking the expenses that's being paid for that. But, where we pick up power bills, propane, workers' comp, all that stuff. I mean, it's just, and you'll see in our budget packet coming up for the 26-27 that it's all combined, but obviously we're going to track how it comes in separately.
Mr. Shields, and another thing, when you were asking about what is this setting us up for, it would take another fire department to fail,
Right.
to merge with another department for that department to have to live through what they're living through. And so I think,
I think the word merge
You go ahead.
has a unique.
I like
piece
my
in it.
motion. You like yours. I can handle yours.
well, at this time, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we do a $75,000. What you got there? Budget amendment to cover the repairs for Kawi, from the fund balance to cover the Kawi and Burnertown Fire Department needs for equipment repairs.
All right, I hear a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Sherrill, second by Commissioner Breeden. Any other comments?
Got to protect the community.
All right, hearing none, all in favor, please
Responsibility we
signify
have.
by raising your right arm, stating aye for the record. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Tammy. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
All right, that was more than 6 minutes.
Chairman, that brings up the next thing that we were talking about. I'm not sure what a forensic audit would cost, but I really and truly think that there needs to be a forensic audit on the books.
I
Do we need a
will,
motion on that, Mr. Teague?
let me get you some information on that, and then I'll get back with you on what we need to do with that.
Okay,
Follow up
I
next
will,
meeting.
I will follow through with that.
All right.
thank you.
All right, moving on, new business. Recommendations to amend the Recreation Commission bylaws. Parks and Recreation Director Seth Adams.
I promise I won't be more than 45 minutes. No, that's a true statement.
Cookout's open till 1 or 2, so it don't matter.
Have a good time by yourself. I'll steal that from you.
All right, gentlemen, I'm here tonight to discuss the Macon County Rec Commission. The Rec Commission, as it stands now, is a five-member advisory board on all things recreation. It's kind of our guide. We meet every other month at the Community Facilities Building. Right now, it starts in January, but then it meets every other month at 8:30 in the morning. And they're our guide on new facilities, new classes, whatever. That's where we get our information from. And right now, we came to a point where all our members are, their terms are up. So I'm here tonight to discuss kind of a new layout on how we want that Rec Commission to be. In a perfect world, we would have somebody from the Franklin area, somebody from the Nantahala area, somebody from the Highlands area, a school member, somebody that's affiliated with the school system, and a senior representative. And as it stands right now, we have two of you guys, Mr. Young and Mr. Sherrill, serve as liaisons to our board. We're one of the few agencies that have two liaisons, but I think it's worked well for us, and that's kind of why we're here tonight, is to kind of make an adjustment to the bylaws. They've not been updated in quite a while. What I just handed you was a copy that was presented in 2022, but I don't think they were adopted, but we've been kind of going with that route for the last few years.
Or the liaison from the board, voting members or non-voting members?
They don't vote right now. I mean, there's not much that we vote on other than like projects. If we agree that we like something, you guys will get the final say so in it anyway. So in my opinion, I don't know that you guys having a voting member on that board would be beneficiary.
Seth, one thing that I noticed is 3 4-year terms.
Mm-hmm.
Most all the boards in the county are 2 4-year terms. Why would we have?
I think we just got that number. I mean, that's totally up to you guys. We obviously don't like a lot of turnover because our projects tend to be planning and then into fruition. So some things take a little bit longer than others. But if you guys just want to, I'm completely fine with that. I'm not opposed to it at all.
Whatever you want to do.
I think we should follow the other boards and not have 3 consecutive 4-year terms. It should be 2 consecutive 4-year terms to follow.
Has Eric had a chance to review the new proposed bylaws?
I literally just found these at 5 o'clock, so I gave him a copy right when I came in here. So he has not had long to look at them if he's looked.
So we've got several different drafts that I've seen. So I guess we need a rundown of which, exactly what it is that proposes and what's different from, I guess, from what we're currently operating under. I'm not real sure which one which you've been going under to know which ones have actually changed.
So the newest, what I just handed out to everybody is the closest to what we've been going by. We've not had an Nantahala rep in a while. We had an Nantahala rep and he died. So we've been kind of one shy, but we've been operating on a 5-member board. We had somebody from Highlands, but then the other 4 members were from the Franklin area. We did have a senior representative on there, so it's technically three Franklin area residents and a senior representative and a Highlands representative. But I think for better coverage and And if we have one from Franklin, one from Nantahala, and one from Highlands, a school representative, because we partner with them so much in facility usage, and obviously we need a senior representative, because that's such a large part of our program. In the only other difference is that I have saw where it talks about public meetings. This one says we shall meet on the second Tuesday of months of February, April, June, August, October, and December. We're actually opposite of that. We meet in January instead of, and then go to November every other month.
So then, I guess another big question is in the last draft I saw, there would be one member from the Macon County school system, one from the senior citizen community, and one from the Franklin area, and one from the Highlands community. But I don't know, do we have that in the draft that you've presented?
So this was just a print off of what we had.
Are these the old?
That's the ones he printed off.
That's the new one that was not adopted in, see, this was created and presented in, I think, January of '22, but it wasn't adopted. We just kind of looked at it and then went on. But we've been operating kind of with these guidelines. So I guess what I would.
What I'm saying is we have one in the packet that includes Macon County School System, Highlands Community, Senior Citizen Community, and one from Franklin area. And the one that you presented tonight doesn't have that, so that's not, are you advocating for using people from different communities as required under the ones that's in the packet, or are you advocating for not having?
No, I am advocating for in different areas. One from Highlands.
Okay, so have you seen the one that, have you seen this one?
I have, yes, I got it. A little earlier.
I guess that's the question is, are you going for the one that's in the packet, or are you going for the one that you presented?
Well, it's kind of a combination of both, because the one that was in the packet talks about having a voting commissioner representative.
I almost feel like we need to combine, to Eric's point, I feel like we were all provided this one.
Yes.
Why don't you draft everything that you need to draft, and we'll vote on it next month.
Well, and I'm not real sure what it is, so I guess I'd ask if Seth could make the revisions that he thinks.
I can.
Need to be made to one or the other, and present that.
I feel like we could almost piece it together, but I think it'd be a little more
rushed.
I think it's the right thing to do, to just take the time, properly vet it. And I don't think there's anything in here bad. I think it just needs to be added to.
Yeah.
So.
And Seth, you said that all the rec board members, their terms have expired?
Yes.
So May. Supposed to have a meeting in May.
Yes.
With no board.
Yeah.
Okay,
there was going to be some appointments tonight.
Right.
So yeah, according to the bylaws now, we won't meet until, if we don't change, we would just meet the following month.
If we're gonna change based on what you're recommending, one from Highlands, one from Franklin, one from Nantahala, one from the school system, and one senior, the applications that we have covers
4 of the 5.
4 of the 5.
Yes.
So then we won't take action on the,
I don't know if you could go ahead and take action on the board members and then us make the adjustments to the bylaws next month. That way we'd have the members in place. Because as it stands right now, it doesn't really matter where they're from. But we would have the areas covered.
Was it advertised that way?
It actually wasn't it's not been advertised yet.
has been
It has been advertised.
It was posted and advertised, and applications that were in your packet were received. It was not advertised as a specific designation. It just so happened that that's how those applications came in. So if you make a decision later tonight in the appointments to appoint those people, then you also have to decide what their terms are for each member. And so if there's a question about the version that Seth just handed out versus the version that was in your packet, you're not going to know what term to appoint each of those people to.
Well, and to your point, Tammy, I think we need to appoint certain seats to 4-year terms, certain seats to 2-year terms, to have
Yes.
a staggered board. You don't want a full turnover every
No.
4 years, so. Am I right?
So you do have a set of bylaws that's still in place. It was approved in 2007 is the copy I have, the last date that was officially approved, unless there's a version that I couldn't find somewhere. So you do still have the basis for a rec commission. Obviously, your members may or may not match if you want to change those. So my recommendation would probably just exactly like you said, revise the bylaws the way you want them. Appoint the members have those up for discussion at the May meeting, appoint the members at the May meeting, and whatever that does to your schedule, I think that's the cleanest thing at this point.
Do we have anything that's really, really, really pressing in the?
Not that we have to make a decision on. I mean, obviously, the pickleball courts and everything is coming up, and the 250th, the 4th of July stuff that we would just make people aware of. But there's nothing that board needs to look at designs, because that's already, we've already done that section of it. So I don't think there's anything that would keep us from waiting another month.
It shows that the low bid was a company called Alcon Roofing for an amount of $195,292. That is a replacement of 13,000 square feet of membrane roof, removing what's there. It's got the membrane now with the rock. Removing that, new membrane roof, replace all 14 of the skylights while we're there, and add 400 feet of a walk pad that's up there as well. It does come, this is the company we used on the library that we were very satisfied with. They were actually a little bit on the library as well. We've been very satisfied with them. And it comes with a 20-year warranty. So my recommendation would be to approve that bid and appropriate $195,292 from fund balance to replace that roof. And obviously Travis is here if you have any more technical questions I can answer.
Like to make a motion. You want to go, Michelle? You want me to?
Make a motion, we spend $195,000, take it from the fund balance and get the work done.
$195,292 to be exact.
Second.
All right, I hear a motion by Commissioner Shields, second by Commissioner Breeden. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your right arm, stating aye for the record. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Ms. Tammy, motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of Cullisaja Gorge Fire and Rescue substation map.
So, Mr. Chairman, I will introduce, and if you have questions, Ms. Glenda Cook is here. In your packet, you will have a color map with some very small printing on it that's very hard to read. Cullisaja has placed their substation on LJ Road in service. Obviously, that extends those protection class districts that Mr. Sherrill was talking about earlier. It extends their 5 mile and their 6 mile and actually covers some people it didn't previously cover under a protection class, which is what this map indicates. The next step to get that approved is for you to approve the map, and then we'll submit the map to North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal for their approval, and then they'll come to an inspection, and after that's when the lower insurance ratings will go into effect.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
I am real happy. Very happy. And I want to say the guys in mapping, they were very helpful. Todd Siegel's been very helpful. Chad Hand, Luke and Levi, all those guys, all these county employees have been very, very helpful. Warren, couldn't ask for any better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda, for being here. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Colossaga Gorge Fire and Rescue Substation map as presented.
Hear a motion by Commissioner Breeden, second by Commissioner Antoine. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right arm. State aye for the record. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Tammy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. All right. Consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Hear a motion by Commissioner Breeden,
Second.
second by Commissioner Antoine. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right arm. State aye for the record. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Appointments. So are we putting off the rec commission to next month? Is that what I understand?
Yes.
All right. EDC commission, 2 seats. And I do believe we have ballots for the 2. All right.
All right, so on the EDC commission, voting for 2, we have 4 candidates. Jim Breedlove, Tom Cano, Steve Grissom, and Darrell Griswold.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Antoine has checked Jim Breedlove and Steve Grissom. Shields has checked Jim Breedlove and Steve Grissom. Barry Frieden has checked Jim Breedlove and Steve Grissom. Tom Sherrill's Jim Breedlove and Steve Grissom. And Josh Young is Jim Breedlove.
All right. Mr. Manager, do we need a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the EDC seats. Sorry, make a motion that we approve those EDC seats.
I hear a motion by Commissioner Breeden and second by Commissioner Shields. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right arm. State aye for the record. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Do we have a closed session need tonight?
Yes, unfortunately.
All right.
Plenty under 143-3, 11183. I do not expect to take any action.
Motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
Hear a motion by Commissioner Sherrill, second by Commissioner Breeden. All in favor, please raise your right arm. State aye. Aye. 5-0, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is.
Second by Commissioner Sherrill.
Seconded by anybody already.
All in favor to adjourn? Motion passes 5-0.
And all of them